Hello and welcome back to Passing the Torch, an online Bible study with Bob Clark. That's me. Today we're continuing with our series, Bible Bytes that make you go, And we're talking about ancient geography. Well, who cares about ancient geography? Let's get into it and see what we can find out. So, in Genesis chapter 8, we're talking about Noah's flood. It was a flood of the earth, and Noah was the one, and his kids were the ones who survived. In Genesis chapter 8, at the beginning of it, it says, Then God remembered Noah, not that he had forgotten him, but it's a literary way of saying things. It says, Then the ark rested on the 7th month and the 17th day of the month on the mountains of Ararat. So you may have seen things on shows on TV where they went and investigated Mount Ararat, and they have pieces of evidence, but nothing conclusive. And other people say that it's not really the Ararat that's in eastern Turkey. It's the Ararat is really the mountains of Ararat. And so it was northern Iran is where Ararat actually was, that the ark rested. So can we tell anything? Well, I'll go ahead and give you the punchline up front. Is we're going to have nothing conclusive, but we'll have things to think about. So in chapter 10 of Genesis, the whole chapter is about the nations that came from the children of Noah. So Noah's children, Ham, Shem, and Japheth, and from there all the nations of the world came. So that's what happened. That is right before the verses that we're really going to focus on. So there's not a lot of time between Ararat, the ark resting, and what we're about to talk about. So that was the point I wanted to make. Genesis 11, the first two verses. Now the whole earth had one language and one speech. And you know where that's going with Tower of Babel and such. And it came to pass as that's people that had come off of Mount Ararat, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. From the east and the plain of Shinar. So let's look at a map and see what we can find out. All right, so you may recognize this as the Middle East, and you'll see areas here. You see the Sinai Peninsula, you see what's the top of Saudi Arabia. If you keep on going to the right in this, there's Iran, and towards the north on this is Turkey. So Mount Ararat, that is in eastern Turkey, you see that on the map. Well, where is Shinar? Well, Babylon is in the plain of Shinar, and you see that on the map. Well, it says that they came from the east, implying from Ararat to Shinar, but Ararat is due north of the plain of Shinar. So if they came directly there, then that way, and Ararat that is in eastern Turkey is correct, then it would have said they came from the north. Well, is it possible that some of these people that have said that Ararat is actually in northern Iran, is that true? Nothing conclusive, but that's a possibility. That's part of where they get that from. Or did they come from Ararat towards the area of Iran and then across from there? That's also a possibility. So do we have anything conclusive? No, but it's fun to think about. So in that 10th chapter of Genesis, where it talks about all the nations that came from Noah and his children, it says, And children were born also to Shem, that's one of Noah's sons. To Eber, is one of Shem's sons. To Eber were born two sons. The name of one was Peleg, which means divide, for in his days the earth was divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. So what does it mean? What does that mean when it says in his days the earth was divided? Well, it could be the division of languages at Babel. That's a possibility. Okay, not that I agree with the one that I'm about to give you, but it is, some people have theorized this. So Finus Jennings Dake, in the notes in his Bible, and in his annotated Bible, he believes, and others believe, that this is actually referring to the division of Pangea into the current continents and islands. What is Pangea? So if you go back in science, and there's a theory that all of the continents used to be divided into one landmass, and at some point it was divided up into what we have now. So could this be true? Could our preconceived notions of slow plate tectonics be wrong? In other words, what am I saying? Is scientists now say that it's millions and millions of years for the continents to divide out. Is it possible that it's actually a few thousand years ago? Again, I'm not saying that I agree with it. I'm saying that that theory is out there. So just to give you an idea, this is what I found on the internet that some scientists believe is you go back to Pangea 225 million years ago, and it was one landmass, and then over time it started dividing up until you have the present day. So is that really what that means? Is that on the order of 2,500 years ago? No, excuse me. 4,500 years ago that the land was divided up? That all of that came to be divided at that time? I don't know. Not saying that it is or is not, but just giving you something to think about. Bible Bytes that make you go, And with that, we will see you next time on Passing the Torch. So long.